astrology forecast with Melrose right now, and then I'll come back with you a little bit later.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer, for that lovely introduction. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Astro Insights. I am Mel Rose here with Jennifer Rose to give you the week ahead in astrology. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the astrology, and then we'll do a tarot card reading for the week as well, friends. So, welcome back. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Today is Sunday, March 1st, 2026. Can you believe it, friends? The sun is in Pisces and the moon is in Leo. That's water and fire. We have a full moon in Virgo coming up in just 2 days with a lunar eclipse. So we enter the week in a mode of culmination. That's what full moons are about. Sun is in Pisces. In our work, social, and civic lives, we may be tying up some loose ends, looking back on how things went this past winter, and giving thanks for another spring on the horizon. Like, yes, finally, yesterday I saw 2 daffodils trying to bloom. I could see the nice yellow flower petals. They were not quite open yet, but I was just delighted to see those flowers blooming. Moon in Leo right now gives us reasons in our personal lives to think about what we're in charge of, what we're supposed to be taking care of, because that's where we are called to shine at this time. And that's especially when it comes to our private lives, our home settings, and those people that we keep close. Also, we enter this week with Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Is it helpful? Is it hard to do? Can both things be true at the same time? Absolutely, friends. It's possible. Okay, tomorrow morning is Monday the 2nd, and the moon is going to move on into Virgo early in the day. And now we're in the full of the moon as of tomorrow. And this is a beautiful, approximately 2.5 day period where we can see really clearly, even in the dark, even in the shadows, even where things are normally hazy for us. We have better clarity, we have better light to cast on these things. This is a social time to gather with friends and celebrate whatever it is that you have to celebrate. Now, the full moon in Virgo is here to show us the perfection that arises from the efforts that we make in good faith. It may not look like the perfection that we idealize. It may not look like the perfection we wish everyone would strive for, but it is important to notice what progress has been made, what progress you have made, and that the progress does represent you well. You did great. A couple hours later, a couple of hours after the moon enters Virgo, Mars is finally going to move on into Pisces from Aquarius. So Mars is joining the Sun and Mercury in Pisces. Mars in Aquarius has been open to trying new and different things and collaborating on bigger projects for success. But Mars in Pisces is a little more aimless. It's like the efforts that we make are dispersed, and we can feel pretty frustrated and ineffectual while Mars is in Pisces. And also, it might seem like our efforts just sort of wind things down or bring things to a close. So it's a good time while Mars is in Pisces to be, again, noticing what it is that's coming to an end, what's coming to a close, and taking the appropriate actions to do that. In a way that is, let's say, constructive or deconstructive, in a way that's not just chaotic. Tuesday, the 3rd, is the official full moon in Virgo, and that happens early in the morning. So if you're staying up to see the moon at her fullest, you'd stay up Monday night until about 5:30 in the morning Central Standard Time, 3:30 in the morning Pacific Time. That's when the moon will be at her fullest, and shortly thereafter accompanied by a total lunar eclipse, the second eclipse of the year, which will not be visible. It might be a little bit visible in my part of the world. If I get up at 5:30 in the morning to watch this moon, I might watch it set and I might see a little bit of the eclipse. Eclipse seasons happen twice a year, and they consist of 2 eclipses happening 2 weeks apart on a new moon, and then on a full moon. And eclipse seasons bring about surprising and abrupt changes or decisions for everybody. So, there can be like collective surprises. I can think of one or two collective surprises we're experiencing right now. And then things also fall away, or we put things behind us and we move on to a new way of being. Okay. Eclipses are just sort of like a couple of weeks, you turn around and the world is different for you. On Wednesday, the 4th, Venus will sextile Uranus not long before the moon moves on into Libra. Now, you might recall that earlier this week, on Friday, Mars squared Uranus, and I think that was the day we decided to invade Iran or kill the Ayatollah or something. So, I mean, that was Mars squaring Uranus. We knew something exciting and big go bang might happen, not necessarily in a positive way. So, but on Wednesday, Venus is going to sextile Uranus, and that's a much different kind of vibration. And that's not long before the moon moves on into Libra, which is ruled by Venus. So when Venus is sextiling Uranus, the vibe on Venus right now is very lucky, very open, very accepting of those alternatives that Uranus is likely to throw our way. We may find something that we thought was strange, but actually really works for us. And then closer to noon on Wednesday, the moon goes on into Libra. We're on the waning side of that full moon now, so we seek balance in our private lives and relationships, perhaps by taking some pressure off of a situation, perhaps by undoing some plans that feel a little bit that feel a little bit draggy, or like they're not working. We want to take the pressure off of a situation so that we can, when we lighten our load, we lighten other people's loads as well. Okay, then on Thursday, the 5th, the sun in Pisces will sing in harmony with Jupiter. Lucky, lucky Jupiter. Jupiter in Cancer is super lucky. While the sun is in Pisces, the things that are coming to an end or have come to an end should be really fairly obvious to us, especially where it concerns our public-facing lives, our work, social, and civic lives. It's with this in mind that we have this lovely interaction with Jupiter, who is offering us bigger ways to care, bigger ways to connect and succeed in the world at large. Friday the 6th, Venus moves on into Aries pretty early in the morning. Coming out of her exaltation and into her detriment, we may find ourselves being a little more bold and direct, and dare I say it, a little more selfish about getting what we want while Venus is in Aries. And then later that evening, the moon moves on into Scorpio. The personal life focus turns inward. We examine our private experience, our assumptions, our motivations. We just want to make sure we're being our real selves when the moon is in Scorpio. Next weekend, Saturday the 7th and Sunday the 8th are action-packed with astrology. Okay, so the first thing next weekend, the sun meets up with retrograde Mercury in Pisces. Okay, so that's a Mercury Cazimi in Pisces with Mercury retrograde. This marks the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde. So yay for our midpoint of Mercury retrograde. It also translates as sort of a flash of light. Okay, another moment of illumination. This illuminates a mystery. Something becomes very clear to us all on Saturday. And at practically the same time on Saturday morning, Venus will meet up with Neptune with precision. Then Saturn at the beginning of Aries. Okay, so this is brand new astrology, friends. Venus is bold, direct, and a little awkward about it because she's newly in Aries. She meets up with Neptune first, and Neptune in Aries is turning our spiritual convictions into fuel for the fire. So one of these days, here's a little something you might like to know about me. One of these days, I really hope to get to try using a flamethrower for the first time. I'm a fire sign. I love setting fires, and it just strikes me as beautiful that there's this tool out there that you can use to just sort of shoot fuel through a line and have a flame on the end of it and set things on fire. Fire has that power to transform. Whatever you touch with fire, it's changed for good. There's no going back. So I have a feeling that this Saturday may be a lot of people's first time taking up some new or more action-oriented form of expression and seeing what kind of transformations we can inspire. So maybe if not, trying out a literal flamethrower, maybe, what is your idea of a rhetorical flamethrower? Like what kind of transformations can we inspire just by sort of lighting things up a little bit next weekend? And I am not encouraging you to set any literal fires, not by any means. I'm just saying, we all have actions that we can take that can bring a little more vigor and excitement and passion to expressing what we need to express. And then on Sunday, more new astrology as Venus meets up with Saturn. Now remember, Saturn and Neptune are still technically conjunct, and Venus is triggering some intensity to flow out of that greater, more collective vibration. That Saturn-Neptune conjunct is giving us a lot of like, I want to build, I want to dissolve it. I want to build, I want to dissolve it. So that's like, we're really in conflict. We're watching things dissolve that we thought were solid, and we're watching things begin that we never thought that we would idealize. So remember that those two are still conjunct, and Venus is giving us some intensity out of that energy of trying to build, desiring to have stability while still watching things fall apart around us. Venus and Saturn make an odd pairing, but they balance well. I think they balance well. Venus can often soften up Saturn, and Saturn shows Venus that practical stuff can be really attractive to us. And they're working together on next Sunday, the 8th. So think of that as a positive idea. Notice the really practical things you feel drawn to. See what you can do, to negotiate a little less rigidity in your relationships, so that it can feel good, bringing in what's practical. And then in Aries, there is this sexy and sensual vibe to this pairing that feels good for planting seeds, starting projects, making babies. I'm talking about fertility here, okay? So keep your fertility in mind over the coming week. When we are fertile, it's not just about what our physical bodies can make of fertility, although it absolutely is. It's also just about what we can make as human beings, with our thoughts, our words, and our actions, what we can make in the world for ourselves and others to enjoy. And then the last thing this week, with the sun in Pisces and the moon in Scorpio at the end of the week, Mercury retrograde will trine with Jupiter. And even though Mercury is retrograde in Pisces, we still have this opportunity to connect on a greater scale, says Jupiter. We can be persuasive. We can speak from the heart. And, it's possible that we're also a little more persuasive next weekend when we're setting an example than when we're simply trying to explain a point of view. But, set the example and then be ready to speak for yourself as well, because when when people see you setting an example and they ask you about it, if you can speak really clearly about it, then that makes it that much easier to follow your example. And that's the note we end on for this week. We'll pick it back up next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. here at Central Standard Time. Thank you so much for listening in, tuning into today's astrology. I think what's coming up next is that Jennifer and I are going to get on here and talk a little bit about the astrology of the week. And,